Okay, right. Get rid of a little bit of extra feedback stuff there. So, hello to everyone. Kind of a few new people here. Hello, Snowsfields people. Long time no see. I think Mark and Sharon will be joining us shortly. Hey again to Rob. I know a few of the people from last week should be coming as well. And I know, as there was last week, kind of got quite a few emails of people just lurking and not wanting to contribute to the webinar document. So that's not a problem. Just to let you know, this is probably only going to be about a half an hour session this evening. We're going to finish about 6:30 rather than 6:45, if that's okay with everybody. We've got the chat functionality. Don't forget, it's at the top here. So if you need to kind of ask any questions or just start a conversation with everybody, that would be grand. If you could all kind of fill in the badges and action section kind of as we're going through, that'd be awesome. Just kind of know what everyone's been up to. Mark and Sharon clearly slacking off there. This is kind of our agenda based on what we discussed in the first webinar. Questions and stuff that you might want to pose for the third and final webinar, I would stick these things in here, but kind of anything else, just feel free to stick them in chat at the side. If you want to connect with people, feel free. So just further down, people have started to stick Twitter handles and email addresses, etc. People want to keep in contact, and I know some chat on Twitter kind of since the last webinar. And then anything else from last month, sorry, that you might not have been able to, if you're not able to join us, is all just below, still on the document. So first thing to kind of share with everybody, we've got our webinar attendance badge from the first webinar. So those of you that were able to join us, but I'm just going to log out so you can see that in non-edit form. Those of you that are able to join us, if you kind of want to just claim that badge, there's no evidence needed, but just click start this badge mission. If you're already logged in, happy days. It should just take you through, and I'll get those approved probably post webinar today, if that's all right. First thing, and then the second one we had was the Scratch Showcase badge that people are asking for. So we've got our Scratch Camp badges, and Rob, it's great that you've been using those with your code club. We've had quite a lot of stuff actually coming through on email about them, about how we can expand and kind of do more with them, because obviously they're very basic at the moment. So all ideas are kind of welcome on that front. But there is the showcase badge that we mentioned. So this would be kind of a great place if your kids are just creating some cool stuff on Scratch to just submit their projects live. And then we can use the showcase tab once we start to build this up to kind of just show off what we've got in there, and kind of just kind of make a little bit of a big deal about the work the kids are doing. So they're the two things that badge wise that people asked for last week. And then third and finally is kind of the all important NACE claim code, so you can get your free NACE membership for a year. Hopefully you all received your emails that kind of went out, I think at the start of this week or the end of last week, I can't remember. Again, this is just a reminder. So here's the sign up form, fill it all in and just put this promo code at the top. I think it's the first box you need to fill in, and then they'll contact you and kind of set up all your NACE membership details, etc. like that with you. So 3 important things kind of out of the way. So we're going to look at this week. We're going to look at the hour of code, because obviously that's going to be kicking off in a couple of weeks' time. We're going to look at some of the badge stuff that's been shared and probably spark a little bit of a conversation through the chat about kind of what people have been up to. And then just kind of talk about anything else since the last webinar and anything that kind of went. We've got the Unser project that was mentioned last month, by Sharon, and hopefully Sharon in the chat will kind of be able to give you a little bit more information, but there's a couple of links here. I think the project's about 3 weeks in now, but you can still kind of retrospectively kind of go back and look at the previous projects, and it's been really successful, actually, kind of one of the most successful projects that we've had running kind of through MakeWave. So definitely one to check out, and really kind of fun for your kids through science and maths and literacy and computing and kind of lots of cool stuff. We've got badge creation, so we're going to do kind of a bit of a screencast on how to create a badge within your site, but then also here's a quick 1-minute reminder video there just up on a MakeWave story, and I think it's on YouTube as well. Once, if you kind of need to come back and have another look at it. We'll look at the CAS CPD badges. We're going to look at some assessment of the computing curriculum through the progressions pathways badges. And then this one here about Rising Stars badges it's kind of a call to action, actually. If anybody is a Rising Stars school and kind of teaches with the Rising Stars resources, we'd really like to hear from you, because Rising Stars and ourselves want to build a little bit of a case study about how the badges are being used and their successes and perhaps things that need to be developed or improved. So if you're kind of interested in running with some Rising Stars badges and kind of giving us some feedback and stuff, that'd be really good. If you could just drop us an email. Again, all the details and stuff are at the bottom. We'll do a little bit on the ongoing pro, because again, that question was asked last month. What are the differences between a MakeWays free account and a MakeWays pro account? And then we've got a shameless sales, selfless plug thing. MakeWays is being put up for the Innovation Award at BET. So it'd be great if you could all kind of watch the video, because the more likes on there, the better. And even better if you could comment on the video, kind of saying how amazing MakeWays is. I'm sure Sharon and Mark and the rest of the team at MakeWays will be really, really appreciative of that as well. So yeah, sorry for the shameless plug, and that will come again as well at the end. So Hour of Code badge. So we're just going to dive straight into having a look at this. All these tabs at the top that we don't need. And get rid of that one. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Everything is kind of okay sound-wise. If not, just kind of drop something in chat. Good. Okay. Don't need that one up. Close that one down. So we've got the Hour of Code badge. So this was obviously a project that's been running for a couple of years now. Quite successful, and kind of just get kids introduced and loving the Hour of Code. And I'm sure kind of all of you can relate to it, and all of you probably have an understanding of what the Hour of Code is. And it's quite a simple badge that we're asking kind of young people to run. It's again very similar to the Scratch Showcase badge we previously mentioned. What we want kids to do is either upload their certificates of completion, which you get when you complete a module on the Hour of Code, and we'll look at the Hour of Code site in a minute, or actually kind of maybe some screen grabs or a little video of you doing a project, or kind of kids doing a piece to camera about how amazing the Hour of Code is. Just we want to kind of build up a showcase and a collection of, again, some really cool stuff that kids are doing, and just kind of show off the kind of the amazing teaching work that you're doing around the computing curriculum, and kind of then how badges and kind of showcasing that evidence can help support the learning journey of a young person. So that's the Hour of Code badge. These are all on the MakeWays computing curriculum site. So if you head there, it's just this third one down the bottom here. Again, the webinar badge is there for you to claim, and the second webinar badge will appear at the end of this session for you to claim as well. There's also the run through of the first webinar in case you missed things. So yeah, let's just kind of just dive into the Hour of Code. So there's loads of amazing projects on here. I kind of think there's two big ones that I can imagine the majority of kids are going to do, and that's why they're front and center on the site. It's the Minecraft Hour of Code project and the Star Wars project as well. There are lots of other cool stuff, cool activities and things on here as well. There was Frozen from last year, so there's definitely engagement for both boys and girls and for a variety of ages. So there is stuff on here for Key Stage 1, moving into Key Stage 2 and into Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. So if you've got some really kind of G&T kids perhaps in primary who want something challenging, then go and have a look at some of the Key Stage 3 stuff. And vice versa, if you've got some children that are struggling who might need to do something a little bit easier or just a stepping stone before they go on to their main activity, there is stuff on here for kind of a younger age group or a lower ability age group as well. So Hour of Code badge, that's what that one boxed off. Next thing we're going to look at is kind of the badges that people have been getting up to. So I don't know whether any of you are aware of MozFest, and obviously kind of all the badges that we do on MakeWays are open badges, and therefore kind of created by the Open Badge standard was created by Mozilla. So we went to MozFest, and kind of badges that I've been doing, I've been sharing out badges with people participating, facilitating events, kind of just showing off some cool stuff, volunteering at MozFest, and we did this through the new platform called Open Badge Academy. So obviously all of the stuff we do through the computing curriculum is based on MakeWays. However, one element of that has now moved. So all of you started looking at the NACE badges last week, and they did used to exist on the MakeWays NACE site, but kind of as of today, kind of these badges are closed, and they formed kind of what was going to be the year-long pilot scheme, and they've now moved over to the Open Badge Academy NACE site. So the badge structure and the badge content is still all the same. There's been some tweaks and some variations, and actually this library is probably going to expand now over the next couple of weeks. But any existing badges that you earn on MakeWaves are still yours and you still own them. You just can't earn any new badges on MakeWaves in terms of the NACE computing CPD side of things. So everything over on the Open Badge Academy is now kind of open live. The site is still needing some kind of decoration and making it look quite nice, but it's ready to go. There are 2 ways you can go. So you can join here, again, exactly the same way you would have used, previously would have joined to do the NACE badges, or you can dive straight into a badge and you can start it, and then it asks you to create an account on the Open Badge Academy as well. So it's just kind of something just to note is that the NACE badges have moved over. So Rob's been up to Scratch Camp badges with Code Club. Superb, children loved it. I also tried some of the microbit badges as well. Interested to know how the microbit stuff went. Actually, we've had quite an interesting conversation with them this week about doing some more work with Code Kings and some badges. Irons in the fire, but it's probably a few weeks off. But it'd be interesting to know kind of your experiences of their code editor and how was using that. Because obviously there's no microbit devices, so you're doing it very much kind of in a simulator environment. But it's interesting to know that you've kind of had to play around with it. Are there any for Touch Develop? As I've commented on the site, there potentially could be, if that's kind of something of interest that people want to explore further. Then yes, we can. We're working on developing some Arduino badges, but definitely Touch Develop is something we can have a look at after that. Have you seen kind of any great materials that could be used, or any kind of really good organisations that are doing stuff with Touch Develop that we might be able to get in touch with and perhaps get some project badges going? That'd be definitely kind of a starting point for us as well. Oh, great! Thanks for sharing the Scratch pad work from your children. So we kind of mentioned on the last webinar that all of the Scratch badges that the kind of pupils were taking, we were kind of going to hopefully trying to bring everything together. So we're going to do some of that through the showcase badge work. But yeah, it'd be really nice to start sharing your studios, which I know people were setting up at the back end of the last webinar as well. So that's really good. I don't know whether Mark and Sharon, you want to kind of share any badge stuff that you've been doing just while we're waiting for Joe to type her stuff in. That'd be really useful. Oh, Sharon keeps joining and leaving and joining and leaving the chat. Rob, is there a way for the education Microsoft badges to be imported into MakeWaves? If you can send me a link, that would be useful, Robert, because there are a variety of Microsoft education badges or schemes out there. So if you kind of have one in mind, it'd be good to have a look at them and see if we can spark a conversation with them. There was definitely, I have some stuff that I was looking at that I would quite like to do some work with. Where was it? Badges. I think it was this stuff here, and it may well be the same. Let's get the first bit. So there's the whole digital literacy stuff. This isn't badged, but it's content that's definitely worth looking at as teachers. But something that I'd quite like to start exploring to see whether any of this we could do some badge work with. But what am I doing? We'll do and chat about it later too. Awesome, sounds good. Thank you very much, Rob. That'd be brilliant. But yeah, Microsoft, this is some cool stuff to go and have a look at. I'll just paste that in the chat if people want to explore that one. Joe, did you use digital leaders badges after last session? Excellent. Kids loved them and spent half the time creating portfolio work. Brilliant. Also looked at Rising Stars yesterday, so very tired and typing. Good, it's fine, don't worry about it. Looking to provide staff with iPads in a fortnight, thinking badges for CPD might be fun. CPD around iPads or just CPD in general, or kind of a good way to kickstart badges and iPads is kind of a joint conversation. That would be good to find out a little bit more. But good. Sharon is poised and ready to type. If anyone else has been doing any badge stuff, that'd be nice to share. We can kind of come back and have a look at that in a bit. Another badge project then that we wanted to share with you was the Unser project. So you can look at the links on my screen. You can just kind of follow the links yourself. This is an absolutely fantastic project. It's all sort of tied in together with Tim Peake going into space. So the Unlimited Space Agency, and Sharon might be able to explain this better by typing or chatting. The Unlimited Space Agency have kind of worked with lots of partners such as the Met Office and Young Rewire State. And we did talk about this on the last webinar as well, to come up with a new badge mission every week. And it ties in the science curriculum, a math curriculum, literacy curriculum, and kind of brings everything together, but all very creative. And there's videos for each week. This is definitely a project I would check out, and there's a couple of links on there that are worth exploring. As I said, the project's, I think it's 3 weeks in. Sharon will correct me if I'm wrong, but there's all the lesson plans here to link to the resources. So even though you are 3 weeks in, you can still go back and you can still retrospectively work on the badge projects and almost sort of play catch up. And it looks like Sharon is typing all about Unlimited Space Agency there, but she will be the person to speak to if you want to get involved in that. However, all the badges, as far as I'm aware, are in the public library and are ready for you just to kind of crack on with. So I'll just put that link in here. Let's have a look. Microsoft badges. I'll have to select a region. United Kingdom. So there's a whole, looks like a whole badge scheme in here. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely something then that I think is worth looking at, Rob. Yeah, and whether they can be ported into MakeWaves is another question, because obviously they've got some kind of badge system in place, but I think there's connections and links that we could possibly make. So yeah, definitely something that's worth exploring. Also can't spell the word interesting. Okay, so Sharon is the lesson plan. Oh, there you go. This is kind of like an overview of what the Unser project is. So Sharon will write it better than I could possibly say it. Cara, I set the Year 4 maths badge to my home with children. It was a challenge in ICT time. It turns out to be very competitive exercise. Yeah, there's a definite kind of domino effect and a big gamification and competitive nature with badges. So excellent to know. So Year 4 maths badge, I'm presuming, is that Snowfield specific, or is that kind of one that's from the public library? I'm presuming, Zora, you've created a range of maths badges is what I'm guessing has happened. Awesome, good to know. Right, so we're going to move on to badge creation. So this was a bit of an ask off the back towards the end of the last webinar. Was I'm on MakeWaves. How do I create a badge to share with my kids? So some of you might know how to do this already, but it'd be good to just give you a little bit of an overview. So I'm going to log in into the computing curriculum site. And we'll have a look at creating a badge in here together. So you're in your site. First place we go to my site, and we go to badges on the top panel. And then all the badges that we currently have are here. And then we're going to go to add badge mission to create a badge. So I'm going to give my badge a name. So this is going to be my test computing badge. This is a description of the badge. And if this is almost like a little bit of a teaser. You don't put too much stuff in here. You don't kind of put the tasks in here. You don't put the criteria or anything like that. You just kind of put a general overview of what the badge is about, just to get the earner interested in kind of what's going on. Next step, you can either upload a badge image here, or we can create a badge image using the inbuilt badge creation tool. And this used to kind of open up a new tab. It's all very much built in together. So this is going to be a computing badge. I'm going to change the shape. I'd quite like a circle. I'm going to put a computer in there. I'm going to change the border, and I can change the colors. You can, it's very customizable. Kind of do what you want with it. When you're happy, you can click save. It's not the greatest badge image, but it will do for all intents and purposes here. And then we have a few other options. So we can create some tasks, and we can make 5 of these. If you're going to create kind of a range of tasks, my suggestion would be that they ask the children to do different things. So one might be a kind of a writing-based, a text-based task, something more creative. Perhaps one of them is making a video or an animation. One of them could be something completely offline that they're just evidencing online, so then taking a photo. The iPads and stuff would be great for those. But you can kind of have up to 5 tasks. And then we've got our tags down the side, which just help you kind of search for badges. So we're going to create one task for this one, and this is going to be my computing task. Awful spelling this evening. And then this would be the criteria. And then we have a few options at the bottom. So we can set the evidence type. So I might want children to only, for this task, submit an image. So they can only take a photo of something and upload that. I might want to add some additional support media. So I can add a video, which could be an extra kind of stimulus. I could add an image, but could also be a stimulus. In all of these could be stimulus. But for me, audio is quite an interesting one, because audio could actually be you speaking out the task itself, and you doing kind of a recording of the criteria. So great for EAL, great for younger learners who might not be able to read that much, children who struggle with reading, and it just might be a little bit daunting to read the task criteria, and therefore might be the block for them to engage with the badge. Doing the audio kind of support media, they could just click and listen to kind of the badge criteria and the badge task. When we're happy with it, we can hit done. And then we have a few options up here. So we can preview the badge, so we can see what it would look like. And we can kind of go, okay, this is what a badge, a student or people going and look at this is what it looks like. I can make it go live. If I'm not quite happy with that, I can make a few tweaks. And then there's one more question, I suppose, I'd quite like you to ask yourself when you're creating a badge. So is the badge that you're creating relevant just for the pupils in your school, like on your site, or is it a badge that could be taken by anybody from any school? Is it quite a generic badge? They don't need to have done something specific within your class or within your school. So if it's very general and anybody can take it, then leaving it as all members and making it viewable in the public library up here is perfect. If it's a badge that is a very specific project, or very, it could be, thank you for taking part in the Christmas nativity play this year, could apply for all, or it could just be a very specific task to your school, and therefore you'd make it your site only, so that only kind of your pupils in your school can find it. It's not in the public library for kind of everybody to look at and go, oh, that's not a badge that's relevant for me. So that's just the kind of the question that I would ask. But when you're kind of happy with everything, you would hit go live. I'm not going to hit go live on this one just because it's not a very exciting badge. So that's kind of badge creation. So as I mentioned, that took sort of like 4 or 5 minutes for me to explain. This video link just here is kind of all that in about a minute. With some lovely music. Unfortunately, it is still my voice, so I apologize that you have to listen to my voice on that one again. But it's a really just kind of easy, good way to make it. What would be good for us to know is, quite narcissistically, is this video any good? But no, actually, is this video useful? And if so, are there any other kind of instructional or support videos that would be good to have available to you? If we kind of made a bank of these, what else would you find useful in kind of refreshers or recaps? I would guess maybe just stick those in. In fact, I'm going to make a new tab just down here for things for the next webinar. If you kind of got any suggestions on that one, any suggestions for what we were going to talk about next week, that would be great. So next up, we've got CAS CPD badges. So we looked at the NACE CPD badges, and the CAS ones still currently live on the Makequest site, and these are all around the progressions pathways document. So we've got six badge missions here, and these look at the 6 different areas within the progressions pathways, and these were built and they were created for teachers to take, and they're just to kind of give you an insight and prepare you in some capacity to help teach the computing curriculum, and that's great. However, pupils could also take these and kind of further and extend their learning as well. So we've got 6 CPD badges in here. What we would like you to do is actually to really interrogate these, because these were written probably nearly a year ago now. So are they still relevant and still current? Do they still meet the needs of what you think you would need to understand and learn about to help support teaching computing curriculum? But it'd be really good to kind of let us know what might be missing from here, what you would like to see more of, and actually then just take them and just kind of work through them and see if they work as badges and see if they work as a concept. So that's the CAS CPD badges, and then we've got the progressions pathways badges. So this is quite a big piece to look at here. But those of you that are familiar with the progressions pathways document, which we kind of mentioned in the last webinar to go away and have a look at, it's currently kind of the only assessment tool that's really available to us as computing curriculum teachers. There are other kind of bits out there. There's the Beavers Computational Thinking Challenge. There's other bits out there, but nothing as comprehensive as the progressions pathways. So originally kind of written by CAS, and then a guy called Mark Dorling has kind of moved away from CAS, and he set up an app that you can use to help track this. And kind of our thinking is that the original CAS document was amazing, and what there should be is kind of an opportunity to use badges to help explore and understand the assessment of the criteria within the progressions pathways document. So each of these stories here helps break down what each strand of the progressions pathways is. So obviously kind of pink is you're looking at kind of year 1, yellow into year 2, orange into year 3, blue is kind of year 4, year 5-ish, and purple is year 5, year 6-ish. There are levels after this, but they haven't yet been mapped to badges. But here is the statements kind of for each step, for each tier within progression pathways. They're very clear that you don't use the word levels, essentially because you can have a year 6 pupil working on the yellow tier, and you could have a year 2 pupil working on the blue tier, for example. And it's to get away from that stigma of children working on different levels. They're just working on the progressions pathways on activities that are suitable to kind of their abilities, without needing to be benchmarked in that respect against other pupils within their class. So the progressions pathway badges consist of, in fact, I'm just going to go to the badge document to get off this, consist of a whole suite of badges across the 6 strands and across kind of 5 tiers. And if you're new to teaching computing, I would suggest you introduce your pupils to these on a tier, the tier below what you would expect them to be at, just to kind of help you gauge their understanding of where they're at. But just kind of let them work through. These are very much independent learning opportunities. So these are not, you don't teach the tasks per se that are built in within here. You teach tasks that are similar to these, and you teach opportunities for kids to, in fact, let me just go to some of the program ones, because that's quite easy to explain on here. You teach children the concept in one capacity and ask them to go and apply that learning somewhere else. So for example, you might teach an element of the hour of code, but then you ask them to go and explore a different element of the hour of code and evidence that. You might, so we look at this one, kind of a year 4-5 badge. There's lots of unplugged activities here, and you can do similar unplugged work, and then you ask children to go and explore this unplugged activity kind of independently. It's a way to kind of, it's self, assessment for learning, self-assessment, and kind of they can work with peers, but it's not meant to be teacher-led learning in this kind of instance. So they're quite a big concept, quite a big set of badges to take on board, and they probably need some planning and integration into your medium-term plans, your kind of maybe your longer-term plans, and actually giving teachers a little bit of support around them within your school. But they're definitely worth exploring. It's been quite a big uptake of them since the new school year in September, and teachers are finding them useful. I think they're finding things that need to be changed and tweaked, so we are constantly tweaking them and kind of looking at them and seeing what needs to be improved with them. So again, feedback would be awesome, but they're definitely one to check out. And then this is kind of our bit of an ask here. So if anybody is doing Rising Stars badges, or if anybody is teaching switched on computing or the Learn to Code books that they've just released, we would definitely really like to hear from you, because there are a set of Rising Stars badges that live on MakeWaves that hands up don't have as much activity as we think they should do, or we would like them to do, and it'd be good to understand if they are relevant if you're teaching switched on computing. And again, feedback and kind of really interrogate them, and actually it'd be good if we could speak to you, perhaps come in and see you doing some work with switched on computing, and where we feel then we could try and integrate some badges into kind of what you're teaching. So if anybody is kind of up for that, very kind of open and honest discussions, that'd be really good. Just drop us an email or put something into the stuff for the webinar next week. That'd be great. Then the next thing people want to look at was going pro. So kind of what are the differences between a MakeWaves free site and a MakeWaves pro site. And think, Sharon, if you're still on the call, it'd be good if you could just put some some comments in probably just underneath, just to let people know kind of the main differences and the main features. And then I'm just going to get a couple of links up on here about the differences, and you can see what it's used for. So make waves about join. So you can sign up for a 60-day free pro trial, but essentially it's kind of unlimited storage space. So it's kind of videos and photos that you would upload. You can add channels to your site. You can create an unlimited amount of badges. So at the moment on a free site, you can only create 3 badges for your students to take. If you're on a pro site, you can create as many as you want. That doesn't, if you're on a free site, it doesn't stop you taking as many badges and your young people taking as many badges as they want. They can do what they want within the public library, but it's all about your kind of creation of badges within your school. HD video quality. There's a tool for collating house points, student portfolios, student moderated, parent logins, etc. There's more functionality with the app, so it's something to have a conversation with us about. But Sharon's kind of just putting some notes in here that might be relevant for people to just kind of make a note of. While she's doing that, I'm just going to go look and see if anyone has done some more badges. Okay, you found the math badge in the library. Are these available for all year groups and not just at Snowsfields? I don't know, is the short answer. Let me have a look. Maths, let me go to the public library. Let's see what we can find in here. Year 4. It's going to be difficult to actually find which ones are available. Okay, year 4 maths. I'm presuming it might well be this one from Prenton Primary. So they've got a range of them. Year 3, year 4. No, there doesn't seem to be, but that kind of doesn't stop you making them. So perhaps give it a go. Try and make some other badges for other year groups. Zora likes the ornament patients. Yeah, it's definitely something worth looking at. I think Maureen would really like it, Zora, actually. I think it's quite a fun, cool, creative way to get maths going, science going, and link it in with maths and literacy and computing and lots of other stuff. So, all right, cheers for that, Ross. Put the Rising Star start guide. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll chat further about the Rising Star stuff. That's awesome. Thanks very much, Ross. And then finally, kind of a bit of shameless self-promotion while Sharon's just putting in the pro stuff. As we mentioned, so Make Crazy is up for a BET award, and this is a link off to the YouTube video. I'm not going to play it now because it won't kind of work well, but it's a lovely picture of Sharon there. But if you could just kind of give that a watch and leave any comments underneath, that would be amazing. And just kind of be as praising as possible would be lovely. We're up against some really good competition, but Makers is fantastic. So if you kind of believe in it, it would be awesome if you could kind of just share that with the world. So we'll leave that link up there. We'll tweet that out as well, and feel free again to kind of share that with other teachers in your school and kind of whoever you think might be interested or might be able to leave us some amazing comments. That would be awesome. So we've kind of gone a few minutes over, and apologies. I'm going to leave these things for the next webinar bit open, but I'm going to put in, it'd be good to know any more instructional, I even spell instructional videos to create. But anything else you want to stick in there, that would be amazing. We're probably going to look next week at the digital leaders stuff. So it was good that was mentioned this week. We're going to go through those the first level, I suppose, of those digital leaders badges, and kind of see how you can integrate them cross-curricularly. So they're definitely not just computing curriculum badges. Where to continue the work after the third webinar? Well, we're looking at, and it'd be good if gauge people's interest in starting a Twitter chat around badges in education. So if anyone's kind of interested in doing something like that, that would be good to know if there's at least an interest for that. But we can talk about that more kind of next during the next session. So as I mentioned, yeah, we're going to look through the digital leaders badges. We're going to look at these co-kinders badges, and we're going to get you to try and play around with some of the some of the microbit stuff in there as well, just to give you a bit of an interest. But yeah, it'd be really good. So thanks very much, kind of everybody, for coming. Feel free, this working document stays open kind of for anyone to comment on and do what you want with. Feel free to kind of continue the chat in the side. Just keep sticking anything down. And working party NT2TEU chat. Yeah, great. We can start a working party if that's what's of interest. We'll look at touch develop stuff. In fact, I'm going to stick that in because I'll give you some info on where we've got with that. And we'll be able to share the Arduino stuff hopefully by the next one as well. Right, well, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for coming, and I shall catch you all kind of on the next one, which is the 10th of December. But yeah, happy, just drop us a line, get us on Twitter. All our details are on here if you kind of want to chat to us at any point in between. But yeah, great. Thanks very much, and see you all soon. Ciao.